Hey, I'm Nina Simone. Welcome back. This evening, I want to talk about the hardest part of the prodigal son story and how to actually live it as a parent. If you are unfamiliar with the prodigal son story, it is found in Luke 15th chapter, 11th through the 32nd verse. So if you need a little background, I suggest you go back, pause the video, and go read it first. I didn't want to, it's a little lengthy, so I didn't want to read it here, but you have all the time you need to pause and go back and read, and then come back to this video. So, parents, the hardest part about the prodigal son story isn't understanding, it's trying to live it when it's your child. Because when it's your situation, you can see the path they're on, right? You know who they could be, you know what you taught them, and everything in you wants to help steer them back. But instead, you're met with resistance. And now you're stuck in this place wondering, do I step in? Do I say something? Am I helping or making it worse? And if you're honest, it just feels like you're carrying something you don't know how to fix. What I had to realize was the more I tried to control it, the more it pushed my child away. The more I pushed, the more we argued, and the tension in my home just kept growing, right? Control can look like love, but underneath it, there's often fear, anxiety, and a struggle to trust God with what we can't see. And once I saw that, I realized this wasn't just about my child or what they were doing. It was about what God was asking me to release. So let's talk about how to apply the prodigal son story. And when you really look at the prodigal son story, the father didn't control the outcome. He allowed the son to make a choice, even when it was the wrong one. And I know that's hard to sit with because everything in us wants to step in before things get worse. But the turning point in that story didn't come from the father stepping in. Scripture says the son came to himself. That didn't happen through pressure, it happened through going through the process. Now, this is where trusting God becomes real because there are places in your child's life that you can't reach, but God can. There are things you cannot change, but God can meet them right in the middle of it. So let's talk about a hard truth. And this is the part that's hard to accept. Sometimes trying to control the situation keeps you in a place that God is asking you to release. So now, let's talk about how to live this out. So, what does this actually look like in your situation? Three things. One, we have to release the need to control every outcome. This means you don't step into everything, you don't try to correct every decision, and you allow space, even when it's uncomfortable. Not because you don't care, but because you're recognizing what's not yours to carry. Two, let God do what you can. There are things your child has to come to on their own. And that doesn't mean you stop loving them. It means you stop trying to force what only God can do. This is where prayer becomes your posture instead of pressure. And then three, we have to stay positioned in love. The father in the prodigal son story didn't chase, but he was ready. He was open. He was still a place his son could return to. And that's what this looks like for you. Not controlling, not overreaching, not overreacting, but steady, grounded, and available. This isn't about doing nothing. It's about doing what God actually asked you to do and releasing what He didn't. Loving your child doesn't mean controlling the outcome. It means trusting God enough to meet them in places you can. And you don't have to have this perfectly figured out, but you can start by asking this: God, what am I holding on to that you're asking me to release?